Jim Ryan is with ABC News. He's got a stacked up morning, to say the least. So let's go ahead and visit with him right now. Jim, good morning. How are you, sir?
Good morning, Brian. Yeah, we learned last night that the Pope had died. Funny things happen like that in the middle of the night. You never can expect it. But this was the note that came, Brian. At 7:35 this morning, the Bishop of Rome, Francis, returned to the home of the Father. That was the message coming from the Vatican related to the death of Pope Francis. He had been Pope for 12 years, just over 12 years now. He had been sick. He was in the hospital for 5 weeks. The church said that he came close to death 5 times during his hospitalization, Brian, but eventually was discharged. And I think to the shock and amazement of a lot of people, was there on the balcony at the Vatican yesterday and took part in the blessing of that crowd, the blessing of the world, as a part of Easter services. Then we learned that hours after taking part there in Easter, he had died.
Why? And I saw a story, Jim, that he had hopped in the Pope Mobile to do a couple laps around around the Vatican, kind of a mini tour, if you will. So are we to assume, I don't know if they've announced cause of death, but are we to assume this is just the extenuation or extension of the pneumonia?
I suspect you're right. Yeah, and no cause of death yet officially. We'll find that out later today, I suspect. But I think it's undoubtedly a result of these pulmonary issues that he's had. He's had lung problems for years. Had part of one of his lungs removed many years ago, long before he became the Pope. But that kind of plagued him, may have folded him into the papacy. And this 5-week stint in the hospital, I think a lot of folks figured, well, that's going to be it. And no, it wasn't. He pushed himself and actually survived through Easter, the holy date in the Christian calendar. And overnight, then we learned about his death.
All right, walk us through. And I'm a Catholic, so walk us through process here. The period of mourning, the welcoming in of the cardinals, and when we get conclave underway.
So there's a 9-day period of mourning. We're getting notes now about every step of the process, the removal of the body to the coffin. We'll have messages about the moving of the casket then into Vatican Square and out there into the place where it will rest. And then, yes, the cardinals from over 70 countries around the world will head to Rome. They will participate in the College of Cardinals and make that decision. There was a great movie, and I'm sure you saw it, Brian, The Conclave.
Oh, yeah.
It's fiction, but it offers really a fascinating inside look at the process of choosing popes. So if you haven't seen that, or you're interested in what the actual process is going to be like, see that movie. It's a great movie anyway.
Yeah, it is. It is until it isn't. I mean, depending on perspective, I don't want to give spoilers or anything, but you know where I'm going with that. So getting back to this, well, I tell you what, sticking with that, when the Cardinals get there, there's typically some front runners and there's people who follow this stuff. Do we have any idea of who some of the front runners are going to be?
No, I don't think so. And it could be anyone. I mean, Francis himself, when he traveled to Rome back in 2012, as the Cardinals were gathering there, to replace Benedict the 16th. Yeah, I don't think he felt that he was going to have the votes. It's a political process in a way because it involves each member or each cardinal casting ballots. Francis showed up there with a backpack. That was pretty much it, just a change of clothes. But I think it illustrated his humble beginnings, his roots back in Central America. And I think it just goes to show that it could be any of those cardinals chosen as the next pope.
Let's talk legacy for just a second, because while he was there for just over a decade, and comes in a historical way, because Pope Benedict he retired, he didn't pass away, so there was a different handing off of the torch. But Pope Francis, as a Jesuit, a little more liberal on some social issues, but very, very open about all the scandals of the church.
Yeah, absolutely, and about the child abuse allegations, about but he did bungle some of those allegations too, or some of the investigations there, and that was frustrating to traditionalists in the church. But you're right; he was willing to confront those things head on, willing to take on issues that might have been unpopular within the church in the past, embracing the migrant community, the disenfranchised, even commenting on a priest who was gay, saying that it's not his place to judge. I think that was a sign of reaching out to the LGBTQ plus community. And so lots of controversy, but certainly a legacy that'll be studied for a long time, Brian.
Is there anything to take away from the ebbs and flows of when you have a liberal pope, a conservative pope will follow?
No, I don't. There's not much pattern to it at all.
Yeah.
John Paul, I think, was seen as sort of a moderate pope, right? Benedict came in after that, and so I think he was there. Francis sets a lot of precedents. He was the first Latin American pope, the first Jesuit.
Yeah.
And could there be a U.S. pope at some point in the future? Yeah, I think the church is kind of looking at that. You see mega churches being built all over the place and people flocking to those places by the tens of thousands, and yet the number of Catholics continues to dwindle in this country. Would an American, a U.S. pope, turn that around? Hard to say.
It's a lot of discussion to be had.
Yeah.
This is all breaking, and you've got a super busy morning, and I appreciate you carving out a couple minutes for us. He's ABC News' Jim Ryan. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Brian.
Absolutely.